Good afternoon. I'm Brian Freedman, the chairman of the Chamber's Government Affairs Division. Thank you for joining us for another discussion in our Chamber one-on-one series today with Houston Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin. I think everybody knows Dave, but a very brief background. He served on Houston City Council since November of 2012 and represented our community with a focus on public safety, fiscal responsibility, and economic development. On January 2nd, 2020, he was elected as the Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Houston. He brings to that role a wealth of business experience, including his service as the managing director of Marsh & McLennan, and has previously worked with two of the big four large accounting firms. He's won countless awards and served in numerous leadership positions, but I'd like to highlight three brief things that I really appreciate about Dave. First, he's literally everywhere in our community. At chamber events, community happenings, town halls, and times of crisis, he shows up for our community, and that's appreciated. Second, I appreciate the incredible team of staff that he's put together who are helpful, responsive, and knowledgeable. And then third, and this is a personal one, is his level of support for NASA and the Houston space community. He's traveled to Washington, D.C., he's written letters, and he's spoken up in support of this important pillar of our community. And with that, I'd like to welcome Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin.
Hey, Brian, thanks for the overly kind words. I'm not worthy, that's for sure. So thank you.
Well, it's great to see you. I know most folks who are watching know you quite well, but if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes and share a little bit about your background and how you got into public service, why you had a drive to go into public service, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure enough. And thank you for that. And the most important thing is my wife, Julie, and I have been married for 37 years. And we have three great kids. They're all grown now and doing their own things, but they're really good. And we just had our first grandbaby 2.5 months early in December. So that scared us a little bit. But he's doing well and getting big and crying and being ornery, just like every little newborn, Brian, as you experience that as well. But everybody's doing good from a personal level. I got into politics an interesting way. I had three kids that were in K through 12 education. I saw some things that I didn't like that were happening in our school district. I live in Kingwood, so it was Humble Independent School District, where they thought the bigger is the best. And at that time, we had two high schools, the third largest in the state of Texas and the fifth largest in the state of Texas. And the growth was enormous. And the way to handle growth was to make that single campus bigger so that we'd have 2,000 kids in each class, 2,000 seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. And we thought instead of doing that, make smaller environments, because the data will show you that the smaller the classroom, the more learning that will take place. So make a long story short, I ran for school board, did that for 10 years. My commitment was I knew what was going on because I had kids within those four walls. And my daughter, who was my youngest, happened to be getting ready for her senior year. And my commitment to myself as well as the neighborhood was, once I had kids out of K through 12 education, I'd recruit someone who did, and I would disappear. And then I disappeared and got a little bored, and Mike Sullivan ran for tax assessor and won that race. So I decided to put my name in the hat, and I've been doing city council work now for 8 years, and it's been a privilege and a joy. I've gotten to really love the area, love the Clear Lake, South Belt, Ellington area, and more importantly, the people. We have the best people in the city of Houston in this particular area. So I've been blessed, and I'm truly honored to represent.
Yeah, that's great. And I remember when you were running, the first time I met you was when you came down to the Johnson Space Center for a tour and took a liking to space then. I think knew more than I did about the space industry when you were there, and but have been a huge supporter since. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I was hoping you might spend a few minutes talking about just what's happening at City Hall. What are the big issues? What are you tracking, and what should members of the chamber know about?
Yeah, thank you. It's ironic that we're sitting here in March. I looked back on some notes to prepare for this and pulled a little chronology. And it was on March 4th of last year that we had our first COVID positive case. And that was in Fort Bend County. And then if you remember, on the 11th, a week after that, we canceled the rodeo. And then we canceled the bars on the 16th of March. So as we get, that past that 1 year anniversary, we start looking back on some of these events and going, golly, a lot of stuff has happened in this last year. And the most pressing questions I ever get is related to COVID, vaccines, positivity. So I'll go through a little bit of that real quick and then get into some other issues. In July of last year is when we really hit the end of June, when we hit the positivity rate that got out of control. And then we started doing the mask mandates. We shut down the bars. And then in December of last year, we had our first vaccine on December 14th that was administered in the state of Texas. So presently, as we sit here today, we have over 1 million people that have been vaccinated in the city of Houston alone, over 1 million people. So that's a pretty good accomplishment. We're still doing various places for the COVID vaccine. I actually went out to the site at Del Mar Stadium on Tuesday. Days are running together. And took another tour of what they're doing there. They're jam-packed. They have an assembly line. It's really doing a great job. Those are for the folks that are going to receive the first Moderna vaccine. And as you heard on TV and the news, on Monday, we're opening up vaccines to just about everyone. So what we decided to do in the city of Houston is we have this giant site at Del Mar Stadium, very similar to what the county has at NRG, but we run all the lines through. We have about 15 lines of cars, and they move in and they move out rapidly. Then you go sit for 15 minutes after you get the shot, and you have doctors and nurses that are watching you to make sure you have no negative effects of it. But we're going to segregate the first dose from the second dose patients, and we're going to move effective Monday, we're moving the second dose patients for the Moderna vaccine. If you get the Moderna 1, you got to get the Moderna 2. You get the Pfizer 1, you got to get the Pfizer 2. But we're opening up at the parking spot, off-site parking at Intercontinental Airport for the second dose. So anyone, before it was category 1A, which was the frontline workers, police, fire, lawn care facility, residents. And then 1B was people over 65 and people over the age of 16 that have chronic health conditions, school children, teachers. Now we moved it to just about everyone starting Monday. So I took both doses of Moderna. My first shot, I got administered on a Monday at noon, went to the gym, did my workout. I'm a runner. So I did my run and did my exercise, had 0 side effects, didn't even have soreness in the arm. My second Moderna dose, I took it at 12 o'clock again on a Monday, 28 days later. I'm a nut about making sure I do things the right way. So you have to wait for Moderna for 28 days. I did that, and I had a little side effects that night. Took it at 12, went and worked out, did my workout. About 1 in the morning, I had the chills. So I popped a couple of Tylenols, and I was fine at 3 a.m. and never felt anything other than a couple of T-shirts I sweated through and a little bit of the chills. It wasn't that bad. So I invite everyone to get their vaccine. I know, Brian, your wife is a doctor. My son is a doctor. He was the one that told me, Dad, get out there and get the vaccine. He took it. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I believe that it's working. I'm feeling good. I'm going out to eat lunches every day. I'm running around doing my thing, and I feel fortunate in what I'm doing now. The tough side of it is looking at the number of deaths that we had related to COVID. We almost have 200,000 deaths in the city of Houston alone of COVID. So we have to match. It's a personal opinion. We have to match, how you feel about a vaccine and all the things that go with it. But starting Monday, get out and get your vaccine. If you have any problems getting in the website after a couple of tries, let me know. I went through the website to get it, worked out fine. So I invite everybody. It's a personal privilege to do it, and I'm glad I did it. So that's a little bit of a citywide. Real quick on Clear Lake specific, El Dorado expansion is moving along as planned. Everything is expected to be completed by October of this year. The Bayfield lift station improvement, phase 1 is complete. We're doing phase 2. That started, but the freeze a couple of weeks ago really hurt us a little bit on that. And then the water main at the Clear Lake City Water Authority at Bay Area in Saturn, I believe it was, is on schedule, and we're going to be pouring concrete pavement on the 25th next week of March, 25th of March, which is next week. A lot of cool things happen in that spaceport. As Brian knows, I'm a nerd. I'm a space nut. Phase one of spaceport was completed in December of last year. Proud to say the new spaceport is a headquarters for Axiom Space. Their headquarters is going to be a 14-acre site built in the spaceport Ellington Airfield area. We hope to have it completed and be built and fully functioning by the beginning of 2023. They're going to be a training facility for private astronauts, and we'll be building the first commercial space station. So, estimated to bring a lot of really good engineering jobs, more than 1,000 jobs to the area. Another thing we have going on is intuitive machines. As we know, it's been there for a couple of years, and it's secured a contract with NASA to build the NOVAC spacecraft, a lunar lander that will be delivering cargo to the moon, hopefully in 2021 this year. And then, of course, San Jac College and the Ed Center, which has been really awesome and offering opportunities for aerospace training and career paths for the students there. We started the first class, I think it was January 2020, and it goes great for those young people that want to be involved in the aerospace industry and be the next Brian Freedman, that's for sure.
I don't know about that, but I do know about the, my wife got vaccinated and didn't have any issues with it. And, every one of those shots that gets administered is a step closer to some level of normalcy. And so that's good stuff, and appreciate that. I want to now shift gears to the riveting topic of the city budget and get your thoughts on, I think the process is getting started. Is that right? And kind of what you see on the horizon and how the city's doing on its financial side, and kind of tap your financial expertise.
Yeah, this will be my 9th budget I'm doing. And then I think 7 of those budgets have been chair of budget and fiscal affairs. So as the only accountant in city council, it really is an honor to lead that group. So we were looking at about a $200 million deficit. And thanks to the Washington, D.C. money that we're getting in, the city of Houston is going to get $616 million. And as I pull the information on it, it's very vague in how you can use the money. The Houston allocation is 616. The county, Harris County, is going to receive $921 million. So the homeless stimulus, we have a number of homeless, is going to be $800 million across the United States. Almost $2 trillion, once again, $2 trillion with a T, designated to 2 things: vaccines and rent relief for those folks that are unfortunate and can't pay their rent. But for us, because of the infusion of the $616 million, we're looking a lot better beginning in July 1. We go in a fiscal year that starts July 1 of this year and will roll to June 30th of 2022. This is fiscal year 22 for us, as again, we start on July 1st of this year. The only thing that the $616 million for us, the non-21 million for Harris County, is stated is you cannot use it for either tax cuts or to pay for public pensions. So we can invest in water and sewer and broadband infrastructure. So I'll give you a little bit of an inside baseball here. There was an article in the Chronicle today talked about the EPA agreement we reached. And this goes back to the Obama administration. I remember vividly when Mayor Turner first got elected, I went up to Washington, D.C., and we met with Valerie Jarrett, who was at that time President Obama's chief of staff, and negotiated the agreement. And the agreement was we have to invest $2 billion in our infrastructure, our sewer systems related to this EPA verdict over the next 15 years. So the good news is we can use some of that 616 towards infrastructure. And to be quite honest, we're looking at, we still cannot reach agreement with the Houston firefighters. They haven't received a pay raise in years, and we can't get a collective bargaining agreement with them. Our last offer, I was in Austin yesterday testifying against, unfortunately, against Representative Marianne Perez's House bill that would maintain or mandate mandatory arbitration to us. And we were against it because the implications on the revenue cap. For the last 7 out of the last 8 years in the city of Houston, we have reduced our tax rate. And if you know anything about taxes, the taxes you pay are a function of 2 variables, the tax rate and your appraisal value. Multiply the rate times the appraisal value. Those are the taxes you owe to the city of Houston. So for the last 7 out of 8 years, we've reduced the tax rate. And we've done that to comply with the tax revenue cap that we have in place that requires us, we can't go above a certain amount. So every year the tax rate has to go down. Why? Because your valuations on the homestead go up. And as they go up, we have to reduce the tax rate to comply with the revenue cap. So we want to give these folks a raise. And I think we're going to use part of that $616 million to give our firefighters, men and ladies of Houston Fire Department, a raise outside of the collective bargaining agreement, because it's harder for us to recruit firefighters, especially against other areas that pay them more. Every year they don't accept a raise. We fall further and further behind. As I mentioned, we offered a 13% increase over 3 years, which is roughly 4.4% each year. And they didn't take it. So we're looking at creative ways where we can give them a raise and not be bound by the collective bargaining agreement. So those are some of the things that we're looking at in the budget. It sits a lot better and prettier today than it did 6 months ago, mainly because of the government stimulus money. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think we need it. But if every city in the United States is going to take it, I sure as heck am not going to refuse it. So we're going to take the money and we're going to make sure that we don't waste it. We use it towards infrastructure and paying our firefighters and making sure we can be competitive in the marketplace.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And I appreciate having your leadership and your experience looking through all those issues and representing our community on those fronts. I did want to ask you, I think more of a fun one about city business. I know that you and the mayor are close, that he nominated you to be mayor pro tem. That was confirmed unanimously by city council. And I think that speaks to how well you work with him, even though I imagine y'all don't always see eye to eye politically. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and how it is working with him and just sort of elaborate there?
Yeah, and maybe we'll show this to the mayor one day and he'll see it. The mayor is cheap. He is probably more fiscally conservative than I am. He is downright cheap. He makes sure that he spends his money wisely and he doesn't waste it. There were some times when he and I have discussions and a topic comes up. And because I'm a Republican and he's a Democrat, I would tell him, hey, Mayor, I cannot support you on this. And he said, Dave, I got it. I understand. You have your beliefs as a Republican. You don't need to be with me on this one. And he allows me the freedom to be myself and to follow the political ideology that I believe in, but at the same time supporting him as the mayor in the city of Houston. If you look at, I had this conversation this morning with a gentleman who worked for Senator Cruz's office and now is working for Congressman Dan Crenshaw's office. And the conversation was, as I went to Austin yesterday in the state of Texas, and as you see things in Congress, those folks craft legislation around political ideology. Whether you're a conservative, a liberal, a moderate, a progressive, you craft the legislation and the laws wrapped around your political ideology, both in Congress and in the state of Texas. In the city of Houston, we don't get into laws and legislation. What we are is a giant service company. We protect you with police. We protect you with fire. We fix your streets. We make sure you have nice parks and libraries and things like that. We're service oriented. So the good thing about the relationship between Mayor Turner and myself is there's no political ideology in streets, in sewer systems, in libraries, in community centers and things like that. We're not crafting legislation and laws wrapped around how we believe in our approach to ideology. So he's been, I get in trouble a little bit because I'm backing the mayor, a Democrat and a Republican, but we work well together. We don't let the politics come in the way of doing what's the right thing for the people. There has not been one time one time in my 5 and a couple of months years working with Mayor Turner, where I presented a business case to him for the people I represent, whether it's in Clear Lake, whether it's in South Belt, whether it's in Ellington, whether it's in Freeway Manor, whether it's in Kingwood or wherever, there has not been one instance in case where the mayor has turned me down for my request for money. And that's because I think I go to him prepared with good justification for projects, but he also does not look at it as, some people may think, well, Dave, your guys and your people didn't vote for me. No. He is a mayor for all of the people of the city of Houston. And that's what I really like about him. He's as many people know my background. I once times, part of my younger years, I thought I was going to be a priest in the Catholic Church. So I'm a strong Christian, and the mayor is a very strong Christian as well. And we live with similar values. So he's been a joy to work with. He's been good for Clear Lake. He's been good for the Bay Area. He's fully supportive of every time we go in front of him with a coastal spine initiative, an Ike Dike initiative, an Ellington Air Force, Ellington Airfield, a spaceport. He's been front and center with all of those things, and he's been a grand champion for the Bay Area. And I've really enjoyed working with him. Really enjoyed it. I won't get back into the previous administration where I had some issues, but Mayor Turner has been really pleasant to work with, and mainly because he's open, he's honest, he listens, and he's a good man.
Yeah, that's great. Well, appreciate that, and appreciate that close relationship, because I think it does deliver for our community and helps bring value down here. And I do always appreciate, because I'm a bit of a nerd and watch all of the press conferences from the city and see you and him there doing exactly what you talked about, representing what's best for the people of Houston. So appreciate that.
And if you don't see me there, we've had the conversation of, Mayor, I can't be with you on this. I'm behind you. But yep. I'm with him on a lot of things, and he is, as I mentioned, I meet with him every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, and every Thursday. We don't meet on Fridays, but I have an opportunity as we walk out the door to say, hey, I need $1 million for this project. Let me show you this business plan, and he'll take the opportunity to look at it. And I like the open access I have as Mayor Pro Tem to him. I like him as a person. He's a good man, and he's very deserving of the many accolades he gets, both locally as well as nationally. And thank you, Brian, for how you've always treated me and how you've always treated the mayor and everybody at the Clear Lake Area Chamber. Y'all have been very good to us, and we don't forget those things. So thanks.
Well, thank you. Hey, shifting gears a little bit on you, the state legislature's in session. You'd mentioned you were up there yesterday. I'm sure y'all are tracking a lot of things. Is there anything that you think is notable for our membership that they should be aware of, or things that y'all have thoughts on? I'll just kind of open up that line of dialogue.
Yeah, sure. I didn't get a chance to talk to Senator Taylor nor Representative Paul, but they have the House bill. It's a House bill that actually started in the Senate with Larry Taylor and then adopted in the House with a version of it by Dennis Paul. It's House Bill 3029, Gulf Coast Protection District. It's coming through the House Natural Resources Committee. It's related to our vision of creating a Gulf Coast Protection District and taking that entity, forming that entity so that we have the ability to use bonding capacity for funds. We can use tax dollars. We can use a bunch of different things when we have the construction, the maintenance, and the operation of the coastal barrier and storm surge protection systems that go from Brazoria to Chambers to Galveston to Harris to Jefferson and all the way over to Orange County. And then the sister bill for that is Larry's bill, Larry Taylor's bill. It's Senate Bill 1160. And it's gone through the Water and Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. So that's the most important bill to keep our eyes on, Dave Martin's opinion, in both the House and the Senate. Once again, 3029 in the House, Dennis Paul, 1160 in the Senate, Senator Larry Taylor, and some different concepts around that. I was up there talking about Marianne Perez's bill, House bill, I think it was 2018, that I had to speak against. And there's another one that I'm personally tracking that is House Bill 2525. It's Representative Dan Huberty's bill on the north side that talks about creating a similar entity like Dennis Paul and Larry Taylor are doing, an agency that has the ability for bond capacity and getting funds in. For that side, it's for the dredging, ongoing dredging of Lake Houston that's been much needed since our forefathers were brilliant enough to build reservoirs like Lake Conroe, Lake Livingston, and Lake Houston. So those are the ones that are very instrumental, but for us, it's the one related to the Gulf Coast Protection District by Senator Taylor and also Representative Paul.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's lived in the Clear Lake area knows the value of those and the potential that it has to help keep us safe and manage insurance rates. There's a whole host of things. So I appreciate you all keeping an eye on that and being part of the discussion when it comes to those things. We only have a couple of minutes left. I'd like to just kind of throw an open-ended question to you out. And one of the drivers for why we wanted to do the one-on-one series is if you could share a little bit about why you think that municipal City of Houston business is important to our members and why they should be paying attention to what's going on there. I have my reasons why I think it's so important, but I wanted to kind of hear from you about your thoughts about why it's so valuable to our membership.
That's a great question. So I talked about all of the things that are happening at Spaceport. So for the City of Houston, as it connects with the Clear Lake Area Chamber in businesses and enterprise and things like that, we're talking about over 1,000 engineering jobs. These aren't, menial jobs, $15 an hour wage jobs. These are significant. These are engineering jobs. These are going to be high paying jobs. And what we envision in Ellington today and Spaceport today, when I moved to Houston way back in 1990, we had Intercontinental Airport and we had this sleepy little airport called Hobby. Okay. And now Hobby is a thriving international airport that looks a lot different today than it did when Dave Martin moved to Houston in 1990. So I draw that parallel to Hobby, to Ellington Airfield today, and Spaceport, and travel, and aeronautical engineering, and some of the things that we're doing with Axiom, Intuitive, and some of our partners that work in that arena. And hats off to the chamber who have been front and center with this, pushing this initiative on the business side, Bay Area Houston Economic Partnership. I'm actually meeting Brian next Tuesday with your dad, and look forward to talking to the genius of the Freedman family, that's for sure. But there's a lot of great things that are happening with a strong link towards chamber, businesses, innovation, and City of Houston, and what we can do with Ellington Airfield. Because in 20 years from now, that place is going to look totally different than the way it looks today. We're excited about the prospects. Every time we have a company, and we have some really things that are being close to being finalized with a lot of great companies with strong name recognition. And once we get into that arena and we turn this spaceport into something proud, it's going to be great. Bowen has been a great partner for us. Intuitive Machines, fantastic. San Jack College, what we're doing with these young kids, I call them, and having opportunities for them to be in the aerospace training programs are going to be instrumental for unbelievable jobs in the Bay Area. So we just need to build and build and build on the momentum that we've created. And I firmly believe you're going to see some really cool things in 2021 and 2022. And you're going to look back on this and say, man, I remember Ellington Airfield when it really didn't have anything there. It's going to be really innovative and really cool to be a part of. That's why I really appreciate the cool side of my district is the South Side, which is the Bay Area, because of all the economic opportunities we have down there. Well, sorry for my length. I get excited when I start talking about, because the most cool thing we have in the city is Ellington and Spaceport. And our police officers wear a patch, and it doesn't say energy capital of the world. What does it say? Space City.
Space City.
And we are Space City, and we need to move forward, and we need to capitalize.
I want to give a big thanks to you, Mayor Pro Tem Martin, for spending a few minutes with us and helping visit with the members of the Clear Lake Chamber. I wanted to share with our chamber members who are watching, we have a number of really exciting events coming up. On March 31st is the general membership luncheon, the Roadmap to the Future, which is sold out in person, but is still virtual tickets are available. On April 6th, the Business Development Seminar on social media marketing. Also on April 6th, the CCISD Candidates Forum. And then on April 7th, the Young Professionals Lunch Bunch, which is at the Toasted Yolk right up by 45. Also, don't forget, as Mayor Pro Tem Martin mentioned, on Monday, everyone over 16 will be eligible to sign up for a vaccine. And with that, I wish you a nice afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. Y'all have a good one.